Bill's not here, but
we have quorum. We'll go ahead and get started. The time
5:04.
5:04. Let's start with roll call.
Grady Croson, present.
Emily Cunningham, present. Excellent.
Would you look real quick and see if there's any public comment? Nope, no public comment.
Okay, celebrations and recognitions.
Ready? Here it is up on the screen.
I'll start with the district celebrations real quick. This is sort of a secondary thing though. So we just had a really great news coverage around the election with just civic engagement with our high school government class. So shout out to Mr. Wood and his students who did a phenomenal job being interviewed on both channel 25 News and on the front page of the Lakewood Trib with their first time voting stickers. Hopefully you all got to see that. The video from channel 25 News is on our YouTube. So we have a really great relationship with that reporting. Just send us the video. We celebrated our Every Raven Everyday Staff Awards for the first quarter, and that was after our board meeting last time. So we want to recognize our district award winner, Katrina Thomas, our two elementary winners, Sierra Jones and Jordan Strasser, both classroom teachers. Donna Williams, who's the admin assistant for at the 5th grade building and just phenomenal lover of children. And Jason Stahl, our high school digital communications lead teacher. They were all nominated by either students, parents, or staff members. And anybody, PSA, anyone, teachers and staff here at Rapoport to receive this recognition. All nominations stay in, and we just sort of pick randomly. So the more nominations a person has, the more likely they are to be chosen. But we also like to weight it towards what students and parents are suggesting. So we're doing that quarterly this year. And if you'll notice, Ms. Thomas has this cute little raven. We have 3D printed ravens, little tiny statuettes created for them. Triple Wind did those for us. And that's just another exciting addition. We also partnered with the Waco escape rooms, and each person also got a free escape room for them and their families.
Yeah.
So, and there I am.
Oh. What are you doing?
We're hearing the feedback. I can hear myself.
I know.
And then the final thing on the district side is that we have a holiday makers market coming up. So I have an invitation for each of you. We'd love you to join us. This event will feature employees, families, students. We're going to have food trucks out there. And then this is a great way to come out, and the whole Rapoport community is welcome to come. And we'll also be doing parent classes at that same time. Those slots are all full. We've have 40 parents signed up to come and do fun hands-on maker classes at Triple Wind, which is just like half a block away.
Yep.
But the whole community is invited to come and do some holiday shopping, hang out together, and support makers at Rapoport. So those are all the district-wide ones. I'll turn it over to Dr. Ellis.
We have a lot to celebrate tonight across the district, as you can see around you, but I want to invite Zarin Fields up. Zarin is one of our high school students, and we have some entrepreneurship in action. I'm going to let her come around and bring to you an example of her work. Zarin attends Meyer High School.
Oh my goodness, this stuff every day.
She's bringing you some of the cookies that she has made as a part of her business, CZ's Cookies.
Oh, I thought this was the board member.
Yeah, the people at the table. Let them pick first. Okay. I don't want to take one that they want.
So Zarin is one of our high school students. She attended and participated in our entrepreneurship incubator this summer at Triple Wind. Through that entrepreneurship incubator, she earned her entrepreneurship and small business ESP certification. She also has a food handler's license and is being represented on our campus selling her product in our teacher workrooms for the last few weeks. So opportunity to sell her products to real customers. The only reason she was authorized to do this was because of all the hard work she's done alongside our partnerships to earn the ability to have access to this, very hungry audience that we have. She's selling to our teachers and staff. By the time I got the message out to staff about that it was happening, our entrepreneurship teacher, Miss Ward, had already sent that out as well. And my message went out to everybody, and I had several people come up and say, "Where are the cookies?" And I was like, "I think they're supposed to be out." I checked with Zarin, and it was like, "Oh, she had already sold out of cookies. That's why they weren't there." So anyway, it's going really, really well. This is just another example of the kind of work that our students do, but also the partnerships that we have with businesses and our business management program in our high school. So we're very proud
Hey,
of
Zarin.
Zarin.
If people wanted to order cookies from you, how do they do that?
So right now I have a shelf up at Triple Wind out right there. I restock it every Monday night. And then I have and the school teachers on the
Yeah.
I have it. And then right now I haven't been doing too many like personal orders
Yeah.
right now.
So could they
So
maybe
go to Triple
reach?
Win or come to campus.
Yeah.
Yes,
Do you have
that would be a
yeah.
way to
Yeah.
get them
Go to
for
Triple
now.
Win and buy them, or you could always reach out to, say, Dr. Ellis, and he could get you in contact.
Yes, social media. I do. It's
Social media.
Zizi's Cookies on Instagram.
Instagram, Zizi's
And
Cookies.
cookies with a C.
The profile photo is my logo, the flower. So that's how you'll be able to tell.
Perfect.
Oh, not on my Instagram. It's okay, really.
You can go buy extra cookies. There you go. There you go.
And
All right.
there's 3 left. I'll just sleep them.
That's great. I'll eat all.
That's awesome.
We have another group of students in the room that I want to invite up. Our 5th grade students who participated in our 5th grade math competition this
Go
summer.
5th graders, come on.
This weekend. All 5th graders who participated in the math competition.
Come on. Over there.
Gather right over here.
Over there.
There's a big clump of people, not in front of the screen, but next to the screen.
Biscoff cookie. Look, she even- Oh my gosh.
We had
All right. We got to celebrate you.
22 5th graders. This is a representative sample of the 22 who participated in a math competition, who actively chose to do math on a Saturday.
Yeah.
They competed against 7 other schools in the area. Harmony Science hosted this math competition. This is their 2nd year to host, our 1st year to participate at Rapoport. We seemed, from my perspective, to have the largest number of students participating from a single campus, but they competed against 70 other students. There were 70 students total. We had 22 of them, and we've had 6 of our students place in the top 20 at the math competition. So very proud. Several of those top 20 are represented here. Everyone who participated worked very hard to show their math skills. It was really, really an incredible day. It was a lot of fun. And then some of them also walked away, because they were in the top 20, they walked away with a prize. In addition to the pride that they had for being there, they got a prize. So Miss Molina, who is our 5th grade math teacher, along with Miss Pistracek, Miss P, who's our math interventionist, are the ones who kind of made this happen this year, invited 5th graders. And there was an overwhelming number that we had to say, we filled as many spots as they'll allow us to have. The competition is full. So really proud of our 5th graders and their enthusiasm to learn and to show their learning across our community.
Yay.
Please stay, if you can stay a few more minutes. We just have a few more. So we had STEM night the other night. We're really like Jessica Wilkinson to come up. Last Tuesday, a week ago from today, we hosted just over 150 people in our high school building. Jessica is one of our high school science teachers who teaches integrated physics and chemistry, as well as environmental science and forestry. Jessica was our staff lead for our STEM competition, our STEM night. She made sure that we had a really big representation, over 15 staff, lots of interactive things. Some of you in this room were there. You can see some pictures represented, but we were really, really impressed by the amazing things that we do. I just wanted to recognize Jessica and her leadership of that
Yeah.
on our staff. Alongside each other, learning the things together. And now we're going to invite up our Rockin' Ravens band, along with their sponsor, Mr. Woodall. To bring about more extracurricular engagement. We see math competitions happening on Saturdays. We have lots of clubs that have popped up recently. This is one of the clubs that is meeting our Rockin' Ravens. Mr. Woodall, who's our 8th grade social studies teacher, is leading this club. And these students have had 3 live performances already this year. Some of them have lots of years of experience with music, and some of them are learning every day and growing incredibly, but they have put themselves out there and performed. We have vocalists, we have instrumentalists, we have drummers, we have guitarists, we have bassists, we have all that you need to be a rockin' band.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, very proud of them. And as you all know, middle school is a very formative time in our lives, and to put yourself out there in front of your peers and say, look at the talents I have and I want to show my confidence is really an incredible skill, and we're really proud of them. They performed at STEM night. This is the photo of them at STEM night. They had quite a crowd around them out here cheering them on as they brought this, and we'll look forward to more live performances coming up this year.
Awesome.
Congratulations, guys.
Good job.
My last one for secondary is celebrating our cross country state. So our cross country team went to the state competition. We had a staff wide watch party while we watched them the live stream, or almost live stream. I got a text from one of our staff who was there present about 10 minutes before we watched Marco go across the finish line. But we had the first place runner in the state of Texas in 2A.
Yeah.
Our team overall placed 8. An incredible accomplishment. A few seniors on our cross-country team, but many underclassmen who are going to be continuing this tradition of excellence that we see on our cross-country team. And these students will also, many of them run and track in the spring, so we'll see more celebrations there. So very, very proud of them. So, congratulations. It was a fake out. I have one more slide. So it was actually a city council member, Josh Bordereau, who came out and presented a proclamation on behalf of the mayor to name I can't remember what day it was. I don't see it on here.
November 6th. November 6th.
November 6th. Oh, it is on there. I'm sorry. November 6th as Marco Cunningham Day in the city of Waco. We busted into Mr. Nason's class, a senior thesis, and we're able to celebrate him as he read the proclamation aloud.
That's also on our YouTube page if you want to watch it.
And we will all observe September 6th as November.
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome.
By coming to school and learning. That's
Yeah.
how we're doing.
Yeah.
All right.
Mark it in my calendar.
Yep.
Okay.
Every day's Marco.
For Marco it is. Okay, sorry.
We had parent academies at elementary this fall. On October 22nd, we had a great turnout. Kids love it because they get to dress up. We don't dress up during the day on Halloween, but we dress up for parent academies. So lots of fun for that evening. And we've got some fun activities planned for next year as well. Though the thing that we did differently this year, you'll go to the next slide, was mystery reader. So if you're a mystery parent, you saw the mystery reader videos come out. We put on these magical heads. You may still not know who these people are. But we had a lot of fun with this. This was Miss T's idea. Shout out to Miss T.
Yeah.
Vote at Parent Academy, and we gave away books as prizes for kids if they won. So funny story, I got a kid out of a car one morning and she said, Miss Whitlark, I think you're the dog. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And she's like, you're the dog in the video. I'm like, I still don't know what you're talking about. She's like, the mystery reader, you're the dog. I'm at a loss.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I might have been in the dog. Anyway, so that was a lot of fun, kind of an addition this year. The kids seemed to really enjoy that.
All those videos are on our YouTube channel.
Yeah. Hey, did you know board meetings are on the YouTube channel too? Just in case.
Risa Miller, come on up.
Yeah.
Something that was really cool that Risa did. Risa's our 2nd through 4th grade art and technology teacher at the MacArthur campus. Teacher extraordinaire, one that is quite beloved by our children. But she is going to talk just a second about some things that she did to connect with our community and provide feminine products for the entire district, for all the campus, well, really, from MacArthur and up, for feminine products. So do you mind just sharing with them how you connected with them?
Not at all, not at all. I had heard about an organization, well, it's up there, the Texas Area Health Education Center, the Waco division, had this goal of serving the youth in our community for feminine health and education. And so I just slid right in and said, well, we would like to help you achieve that goal. And so they were so generous. They actually got support from 2 different Baylor organizations, and they did a huge drive. So we didn't even have to really do anything on the gathering of the products. They fully funded and ran, promoted, and gathered all of the feminine products. And when I say all, we're talking about
It's like
2
massive.
giant totes and so many bags. We had to have 5 people to carry them all in. And those feminine products are now going to be available, like you said, MacArthur campus all the way through high school. And then we've also put them in some kind of discrete bags and made them available in every classroom, so students don't have to ask for these things, but they can just take advantage of them. All of our amazing administrators have stocked these now, all of the back supply, so they will refill those bags and make sure that everybody knows that they exist. So we just have such a great team. It was really such an honor to be able to pull that together.
Yeah. Risa does a really great job with connecting, not only with her students and what she's doing, but with the larger community, even for the larger district. So we're really thankful for the work that you do. Dr. Page is the Dean of Students at the 2nd through 4th grade campus, and she was just selected for the 2025 Principal Leadership Institute for Region 12. So she is really excited to participate in that, to grow her knowledge and skills and to continue to pursue what she wants to do in the future. So she will participate in that. I believe it'll be for next school year. And it's going to be really great. So she's excited to further her education in that way. Also, this is really cool, but we have 2 people who will be using the elementary campuses as sites for their dissertation research. One is Kenny Berry from Region 12. He is the executive director, of Region 12, and he's going to be coming to elementary to use us and our data and our information for his dissertation research. And then we have a second person who actually was one of your students, Dr. Newman, right?
Yep.
And so that's going to be really cool. I think it's always good for us to put ourselves out there and to allow people to use our data and what we're doing in order to research and figure out any things that they can find or help us with, and to further their own educational goals as well. So we're excited about that. And we'll see what comes. We'll have some dissertations to read through, I suppose, so that we can see what sort of conclusions they come up with. So we're excited about this.
Well, and the exciting thing about that is charter schools were founded 27 years ago to be best practices, places of innovation. So what better way to really honor the mission of why charters were created in Texas than to be a place of research, right? Where we can look at what we're doing, we can look at our best practices, we can modify, we can improve, we can grow, we can feed into the educational research and the literature that's out there. I got a third one today. That's a request for a third one. So
I think secondary something.
It actually is a secondary one. Yeah. We have 2 at elementary, this will be a secondary. But I just think that really it's true to the mission of why charter schools were created. And it also speaks to people recognize that we're doing some cool things here. And they want to be a part of that. And they want to be a part of really stamping that and even expanding and going beyond that. So. Yep, that's it.
So we're gonna attempt carrying the photo in the hallway and put kids on the stairs. How does that sound?
We'll follow
Celebration photo.
Minifee to be in the picture. So you can talk to her before she rolls out. So this is Zarin Fields. She's a high school student. She went through entrepreneurship. She's got her entrepreneurship and small business certification. She's got her food handlers and her food managers. And she has now started a cookie business with seed money from the summer. So she is selling over at Triple Win, and she is selling here through the teachers. And she brought all the board members a cookie. So when you see her, the young lady that hit it to her, and she is, yes. So a high school level Black woman.
I love it.
Like, don't worry about that. I'll get it for you. Like, how cool is that?
I love it. I was just thinking about.
Because Mark's doing it. But if you want to.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit. Yeah. No, I don't need to say. Okay. You're welcome. This is okay. I know it works. I didn't get scheduled, but I don't have anything else to do. Graduate, so I'm just at home. Just no, it's just that's the H. Why they always have to meet for Friday. Oh, yes, for that. I don't need to tell you don't need to tell me some sort of anniversary between you and your little girl. 6 months. Oh man. Well in high school terms that'd be like 7 years. Right? Basically. But now I'm busy watching this. She's probably ready to down yeah, definitely in character. It's all. No. Well, which one are you giving? David's only has one thing. He may not get it. Because, well, he didn't give me specifics. So we're only about one time. Yeah. Oh, hey, boy. Go, there's a bag, it's got 2 shirts on it. I'm gonna put it in change. Yeah, it's in the bag. You got 2, right?
All right, I just spoke with her mom. I said, contact with you, and it's okay for you to communicate with to start chatting about business stuff.
Like how neat is that, right?
This was something I announced before you walked in.
Thank
I
you.
hope that you guys will be there.
I will be.
Maker's Market.
I've got 3 Christmas parties 3 days in a row.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Yep. This one is a good one because it's like shopping and party at the same time.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Any consent agenda items that we need to pull out? I did have one question about item 4.2.
Item 4.2, the tables. Yes. Did you see the narrative that was in there? So you want to pull that off?
Yeah.
4.2, the STEM tables. It was the second most expensive. It's the middle one that was the preferred. Not the most expensive, not the least. Yeah. If you looked at it last week,
that's what
it was the wrong one.
Got it.
This one was labeled instead of this one. It's the middle
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
for the consent agenda.
Agenda items.
Sorry, I know I did
You
great.
got a Nason shirt?
That is amazing. I will move to approve the consent agenda. Yes.
Second. Oh, you did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was only just to make sure I understood that maybe you don't have a total. When they said that it doesn't impact the district budget, But it's
Yes.
included in the CTE technology fund, so even though this wasn't budgeted for.
So there was kind of like an open spot for facilities or supplies or tables or things like that that was already in those funds. And so it's not taken away from anything else. It's within that. It's just this one expense was higher than what the, otherwise we would just pay for it because it's in that category. We're still okay moving forward. So second. Yeah.
I thought we had already, did we not do something like that? Upgrade or
we did phones several years ago, but I'm happy to pull that one off and talk about it because I'm really excited about it if you want to.
No, I mean, I love it. I'm all for it. I just thought we had already done something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did some radios, we did some speakers at that one. So and so wait, let me pull it off so I can explain it real quick. You okay? So I'll just pull that one off if that's all right. Would you mind amending your motion to not have that one on there? You're good with that? So I need a second for that minus that one. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. All motions pass except for item 4.3.
4.3. So let me explain that one real quick. So I'm really excited about this one. And we have been working for quite some time to try to figure out, it started at MacArthur and then it quickly moved where there's most of our campuses don't have an intercom system that flows through the rooms. We have phones that are plugged in, but if there's any sort of noise, you just can't hear it. And so we've been working to try to find solutions that weren't astronomically exorbitant because you're trying to run wires and everything else. Chris Brownlee actually came across something at a conference. John saw it as well and said, yeah, I think that would be a really good thing. So we ordered a sample of it. So it's an IP-based speaker that connects in with our phone system. It's independent of a phone, so you don't have to call the phone to get to it. But they're about $300 a piece. So this budget is for 145 of them. And they are loud, like they will blow you out of a room if you need to. Now you can adjust the sound. But the cool thing is the systems we already use for phones, for extensions, for conferencing, for dialing into the classroom and all of that, you can flip over and dial once we get them programmed. Let's just say it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And if 1, 2, 3, 4 is this whole building, I can speak and it will hit every emergency speaker at the same time in this building. All at once, which means because it's through our phone system, I can be in Austin at a meeting and somebody can send an emergency alert on the phone and I can immediately intercom the entire district. I can do just one building. I can do one whole campus just by dialing in the extension to that emergency response thing. So it's really cool. I don't love spending that money, but if I have a solution that not only solves some of the classroom things, now for a one-on-one, like if I need to get a hold of a kid in Mr. Nason's room, I'm still going to call his phone. I'm not going to page it, but I'm going to call and it'll ring for that. This is for en masse communication, drills, emergency response, or anything like that. And they did 2 tests. They did a test over in middle school and they had the kids get loud. Like they put it up, they posted it and they're like, get loud, whatever the day might look like. And the kids immediately heard it and quiet down. They did it over at MacArthur and they did it in a double classroom. But for that one, they just kind of set it on a table. So it was faced up. It was kind of in the center of the room a little bit. And they could still hear it. Now it wasn't as loud, but it wasn't mounted up, with the sound kind of carrying out. So we're going to test some of those. But the way we did the numbers, this would give every place where there's an adult roughly would have a speaker. Now, not every place needs one. Some offices have 2 people. Like the food service has a whole team and they're only going to need 1 speaker on one end of the cafeteria and one on the other one. So we should have plenty of speakers to cover that. It'll be in all the classrooms, doubles in some classrooms that are really big. It allocates for 2 of those, but I'm really excited about the ability to not only solve a one campus thing, but also solve like a whole connected thing. And it already goes through a system we already use. So we don't have to learn something totally different. We don't have to maintain something totally different. So I'm really excited about what it can do. So thank you for letting me explain that to you. But I think it's a really cool thing.
Its primary use is security.
It is it's for emergency response, widespread contact. It's not for like a onesie, twosie. It's for like an en masse. But the cool thing is when we program it, like we could do it by floor, and then you link those numbers together and do it by building. Then you link the buildings together and do it right up. Yeah.
And I did see, I have to look, research it more, but our Stop and Notify app that we use actually on the back end has something that we tied into that. So somehow, if the notification goes on our Stop and Notify, you may be able to set up an automatically notifies the speakers. So,
or like send a pre-recorded message or a word out or something like that. The great thing is it already feeds into our phone system, which is IP based. These are IP based. We already have the wiring in the classroom, so that's not an added expense. It's literally just the speakers that we have to buy. And so as soon as we get them, we'll start rolling them out into the classrooms. The turnaround is about a week. They already have them in stock, so they'll be back to us in about a week. And then we'll just start with kind of getting them ready. Chris Brownlee says already like December will be deploying, and making sure everybody has what they need for that.
Is this coming out of our current budget?
This is coming out of the school safety grant. We were able to do an amendment, Chris, so that's really exciting. We're able to do an amendment and ask for a little additional funds because it's part of the safety communication strategies. So Katrina said, absolutely, that's fine. It doesn't come out of our current operational expenses. It's going to come out of the state funding because it's an emergency response tool.
And on those, since they're IP-based, are there security controls in place where that technology can't impact your student?
Yeah, so it already goes in through our firewall, through our phone system that is already controlled and secured. So that's one of the reasons why we really liked it. It's not like an independent thing. That is correct. Yes. Yeah. And I can get technical questions answered. That's about as much as I know. What I know is our phone system is already secured, and this is within that. So it's basically phones without microphones and receivers. It's just, but it is loud. Like there's one in the lobby of the basement and I can hear it in the room in my closet, which is now my office, right? I can hear it into that. So yeah, I'll try.
If they're IP based, they're going to need their own independent line. So are you needing to get new drops or is it going to saturate the current bandwidth?
So no, it doesn't run wireless. It runs wired. And we already have the wires into the classrooms. Almost every space already has 2 wires that are running in there because they were originally set up for a phone and computer. I did ask when I was trying to budget, so I do know the answer to this one. Yes. Dean has done all the investigating. There may be a place or two where we're like, okay, that speaker is just not going to cover it. But in that case, he said he can just run it through the ceiling and drop it in, and they're easily able to manage that themselves.
Do we need a motion?
Great. Yes, because we pulled it off consent.
I make a motion that we approve as reported item 5. I think that's 4-3.
Yep.
Second.
Was that? Yeah, perfect.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, parent representative.
Oh,
hi. That's you.
Hey.
Well, the only thing I have to report is honestly positive news.
Yay.
We've had a couple of people reach out and really commend our, especially 5th grade, and then really, I guess, middle school overall in their engagement, and especially with the, I think, expansion of the club and things like that, that a lot of parents are feeling that their kids are engaged, and then use of Parent Square has really been great. And I know on a personal note, as someone with 2 middle schoolers, I've really noticed that stuff. So, but it's really fantastic.
Awesome. Yay. Thank you.
Good.
Faculty representative.
Well, I sent out an email. As you can see, I got a lot of response, but I'm going to share this out a lot to the people that it impacts rather than going through the home. And they can answer it and either send it to me or direct. First of all, very good news. Thank you for it's great. We have brand new water fountains that are going in this building.
Yep. Yay.
With filters and they can fill bottles.
Yay. Yes, it's huge.
And they're going to go in Monday. Here in the Gomez building. There was a general concern and this is something I'm going to send on to Dr. Ellis. there was a general concern about the policies surrounding credit recovery and how those students are held responsible. There were 3 or 4 incentive-based things again. A lot of them are sort of repeats. One about, is there a possibility of providing free child care to teachers, especially those that are having to go from place to place and they're always like at 4:15.
Yeah.
I have an idea, a suggestion I'd like to bring forward, and I'll coordinate clearly with the principals, but I would like to maybe form a little sort of a committee of like 2 teachers from each campus that come together and we brainstorm under the parameters that we have. Let's think of some incentives in the way that we can work with teachers to offer some things that they would be interested in. Because maybe something that seems small to us may not be small to them. And we can come back with a list of 15 or 16 or so different ideas that we can present to the board as some options that we might go through. And make that committee have an older teacher on it. Older.
Veteran. Yeah.
I was off track almost, I'm sorry. And then a younger teacher on it to give a perspective of what might be different generationally as well.
Are you looking for those 2 to help you select
Absolutely.
people, or do you want to just put on an all call and then they'll? Okay.
Absolutely.
So they would like nominations from you guys sent to him.
And just one day, just set aside a day that we can get together after the first of the year and look through this and really bring a plan forward. Because we've thrown around a lot of ideas and there are people that have really, really good ideas, but I'd like to get some more input. And I think it would be helpful for the board too, so that it may not be all financially based. Somebody might have an idea of how to answer all these problems and present something well. So that's my goal.
Love it.
Is that all right?
Love it.
Would it be a standing committee just because like we have facilities, we have sessions?
Yeah, I think it'd be up to the faculty rep. I think since the faculty rep rolls every couple of years, it might be hard for them to maintain and to keep it going, but I absolutely applaud you for doing that. It's great.
Are you including ideas from all the teachers or just from that?
Those
committee?
4, no, they're going to be representative. The first thing they're going to do is ask other teachers what their ideas are. Because I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
I get ideas, but a lot of them are like retreads or different things. And I just think we need to come together and have a time where we can voice that. There was a question about special education and 504 training for teachers, that with our numbers as we continue to grow, do we need any more types of specialized training or increased training in those different areas? And I'm going to forward that on to y'all and to you, Dr. Newman, anything about that. And I think we may talk about this a little bit later. I asked to sort of, and this kind of ties in, and this is actually between when I was working with Ms. Pate, who is an exceptional person to work with.
That's right.
That when we were talking about putting the sort of history wall together and that sort of stuff, it came up that maybe we are sort of selling ourselves a little short in ideas about how to generate money. And so something that, and I think it may be on here later in some other form or fashion, but we talked about forming an education foundation here, a self-supporting education foundation, and also looking at the possibility of hiring even an hourly part-time grant writer. There are grant writers that are out there that specialize only in charter school grants. There's money available. The caveat is, of course, some of those grants have very strict policies. Y'all know this, you work with it. But it would be at least worthwhile to pursue some of this money that's out there. If it's out there and we need it, we need someone that has the expertise to search for it together. And so those are 2 ideas that came out of really what Ms. Pate and I sort of collaborated with. And I think that was pretty quickly. I think that's it.
All that and just that.
Nice. Thank you so much. Okay, district leadership.
Yeah. So Katrina was not able to be here tonight, but you had the financials already from her. So I just had a couple of things. You have governance forms on your table. If you haven't already filled them out, if you would please sign those and get it back. If you have questions or addresses are wrong, just let me know and I can make edits and get you cleaned up versions of those. They'll go back over here. I'm going to talk about for training here in just a minute. We have had some spots open and we've been able to fill some spots. Yay. Elementary's got a couple of staff that have come on board. We've been able to do a temporary person in for the Spanish slot at that high school. We do still have some possibilities, some openings. So if you know of people, you can always find it on our website. But crazily enough, we're already moving into talks about next year. So Tyler and Jennifer have already attended one job fair. And so they'll be looking at other ones that we'll attend in the spring. If you guys have thoughts or ideas or questions or suggestions about places to go, we typically go to kind of the major ones. We also go to Tarleton. We go to SFA sometimes. It just depends on the year. And we usually try to catch at least 2 HBCUs. So we can catch those students and bring them up into this area. So if you have any other ideas, please shoot them my way, or you can contact either one of them. But it's already time to start thinking about next year and openings and what we're going to do with that. The other stuff I'll update you in the construction update. Yeah.
About next year.
Yep.
With all the fundraising we're talking about with our school in general. I met with a teacher, an admin, and a non-salaried staff member just to kind of get a feel of their perspective on the environment, healthcare costs, salary adjustments, and then it led me to the TPA's website to review their minimum salary schedule. They do not change that often. There's a set for the last 5 years, the salaries have not changed.
Correct.
So I compared it to the history at the district, and the district does well and compared to the minimum state salary scheduling. But I like to see how can we incorporate some of the options that they say that they have to see, is it something Rapoport got? Is it something that Rapoport doesn't know about and qualify for? So like, for instance, they were talking about ways to increase salaries, of course, legislation, right? And something with SB2. Did Rapoport qualify for SB2?
So yes, that is one of the ways that we did a big jump. Years ago, and then it's also some of the legislative initiatives or teacher incentive allotment that we're moving through right now. Yep.
And then there's advanced degree supplements, and then of course COLA, but COLA doesn't match what even the Social Security possibility is doing, or consumer pricing. And so it's almost when healthcare costs are going up for teachers, whether they need it or not, spousal support or not, it's still a great need. And I'd like to see how can we fix that so retention works, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So that's not my area, I know, but it's in the talks that I've had with these 3 staff members, it's a big concern for them.
Yeah. And we look every year whenever we do budget, we do a salary research. And we go and look at schools our size and schools in the area. And we kind of cross compare and see where we are with that. I think one of the things that is unique to here, to a charter school, to this charter school, is we talk about a cap in enrollment. So we're not potentially expanding and expanding and expanding and expanding. So that's something the board is going to have to always keep in mind, is when we get to 950, which is our cap, that's it. And if we do really good at retaining staff, which we've gotten better and better and better, then we're going to have to be able to fund something for them as they move forward. And so unless the state increases funding, we're going to have to find private funds to do raises, or there's not going to be any because it's not going to come from enrollment growth. And because we don't have a tax base that goes up, we don't have property values that increase, we don't have all of that. And that's really what stuck us in kind of a relatively stagnant place this last year, is because there wasn't an increase in funds from the state like everybody thought there was going to be. We don't have an added revenue. We don't have those other sort of things. And so that left us in this kind of stable spot where even we were talking about a $25 increase, right, was going to be big for that. So yes, I think every year we should do the salary reviews. We do advance degrees. So you get nods if you have a master's degree or if you have a doctorate degree. We have the grant program to help pay for some of the continuing education for as many as we can fit into that budget. So depending on the year, 2 to 8 people that run through that. So that was something that came from the teachers that we've built in for that. And those were all programs that weren't here before. We try to stay competitive with schools our size, recognizing that we just don't have an economy of scale to compete with the schools like literally across the street. So the question is, how do we become more competitive? What does that look like? What can we do to get closer? We can always increase our class size, but we cap at 950. So we could be fully enrolled at maybe 18 per class in most grades. And then when students leave, we don't refill spots. And then, so, I mean, we could play with numbers like that, but eventually we'll be at 950. And that's as far as we go in our charter, unless the board wants to go beyond that. And then that changes our whole dynamic for that. But yeah, I mean, I definitely think every year we should be looking at where we are with salaries and what does that look like when we run the budget.
And I did also learn in the deep dive research that public schools, well, I know this, but traditionally public schools, their money is tied to enrollment, whether the student is at school or not. It's not that way for this.
Ours is attendance. And they still have an attendance factor in theirs. It's still adjusted for average daily attendance. But they have a whole tax base that is funded on head count, which is different, right? And that's different than what charter schools go through. So that's why attendance for us is so important. Honestly, I figured it out, but then you may have seen it in a parent message that I sent out the other day. It's basically, it's basically $90,000, $90,000 for every little bit that we move up. And so like we had really abysmal attendance one day. It was $5,500 loss just in one day. And so like, those are the things that we have to do better about, is making sure that our kids are here and are coming. We want them to be here because the learning is engaging, the environment is rich, and they just have to be here. But honestly, that's a struggle. Our attendance is way better than a lot of counterparts of mine post-COVID. So we're still running 97 to 96%. Historically, we were at like 98.5%. So we need to keep pressing until we're back up at those marks. But you're right. I mean, that's how we get funded. Yeah.
One of the staff members I met with, apparently there is I don't know if it's a culture or environment, and this may be where leadership comes in at each campus to cultivate. They feel invisible. They feel that the board only represents teachers and administrative level positions. Okay. And if you're not salaried, that you basically do not matter. And I said, okay, well, what I'd like to say is come to the board meeting, submit things to Mr. Nason, and let's talk about it to see how we can help shape that dynamic. Great. Obviously, I don't work here, but I thought since we were talking about staff, go ahead and just share that, because
that's great.
Well, you might also want to assure them that we've brought up issues here that were not teacher related, that dealt with salaries of, or that dealt with the income of non-salary, or what that's another term. You know what I mean?
I don't know the term for it.
Yeah, hourly stuff. Yeah. Well, we don't do contracts.
Hourly employees.
Yeah, there's hourly and salary. So yeah.
That has been brought up here too. You can reassure them that we do discuss that.
Yeah, get those voices out there. That's good feedback. Yeah.
More voices is good. So
okay.
Did you know? It's just a good reminder. Thank you, Ms. Hill, for taking the time to have those conversations. Yeah. And it's like, it inspires me, reminds me that that's part of our role, and it's so informative. So thank you for doing that.
And a breadth of people.
Yeah.
I think that's really important too. Not just the people that you stand next to on any given day, but like really seeking out a wide variety of voices. Yep. Okay.
Okay. Any other superintendent?
Let's move to committees.
Okay. Yeah. Finance committee, Mr. Carson.
Yes. So we met Friday. We talked with our investment advisor relating to the endowment that we have, and has done very well this past year. 36% rate of return, which is obviously not sustainable, but for this past year it's been great. And so we got a ballpark estimate for the scholarships for the coming year and how much we could allot. And the advisor felt very comfortable in the 30 to 40,000 range of that. So, and then our goal is to get that out sooner. So hopefully January, February, we can start on that. So that way we can give all of that away. So that is the goal. And that's not even, that's not, that percent, that dollar amount's not even 4%, which we've been trying to stay around that 4% now would be like 60,000. So we felt like 30 to 40 is more comfortable on that. But so speaking of, we've talked about it the past couple of times we've met, which kind of ties into what Mr. Nason has, but I would like to see the endowment turned into an education foundation. That was because it already has a great base. It's already starting out at 800,000 or whatever.
And it's got its first activities.
Yes.
Which are scholarships.
Yes.
Right?
So I mean we've been drawing down on the principal, the original 500 or so thousand. I don't remember the exact dollar amount of the endowment funding. So it would be great to turn that into something else and expand that. So yes, and being able to grow that as a piece to facilitate even giving something to teachers, you know, at that point, kind of expanding that as a grant, you know, similar to the Midway ISD grant, Waco ISD foundation. So absolutely, we'd like to do that. We've talked about the grants and sort of thing as well. So that was some other discussion. I believe Dr. Cunningham had a lot of other ideas too as well on some scholarships.
They've connected with Katrina. There's some small community grants that are really light lifts to just, I mean, we're talking nickel and dime, but we've got her connected with those.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So I think ideally is if, you know, to find someone or us as a finance committee or expanding that further to do something with the grants and spending more time on those, because there are those grants that are out there that would be worth doing.
You know, and that may be a thought. I've not ever checked into it, but if there was extra money that wouldn't drop below the 4% that the board thought about and decided you could use a piece of that money for grant writer to build that, it'd kind of be a self-funded, then it wouldn't come from the general expenditures. It would come from that. It wouldn't cut into scholarships because that's what that was intended for. But if that money essentially repaid itself and then some, that may be something the board wants to consider for that one.
Yeah. So I don't really know kind of next steps on, you know, that's something we'll continue to discuss in our meeting, but if anybody has any input or ideas or suggestions on that, love to hear those so we can research or discuss.
One good thing is like with educational foundations, you have a lot of people that have them that have the expertise that we don't. That's the,
True.
Yeah. You know, because we just don't.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're out there. We don't have to reinvent wheel. We just got to say, hey, you know, usually a lot of those are like independent.
They run independent. Yeah.
Independent. That runs it. I mean, it's separate.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's usually staffed by a district person and run independent by a whole separate board of directors. So there's not that conflict.
Yeah. So, but ultimately,
we authorized Todd to shift some funds to something more conservative, knowing that 26% was not sustainable.
Yeah. So the 26% growth really throughout our ratio of 70 to 30, 70% stock, 30% bond mix pretty significantly. And so he's going to be moving some money out of one of the, what type of stock it was.
I mean, they're all in like funds or whatever. Yeah. Yeah.
So he was going to shift that to more conservative because we will be pulling money for the scholarships. So it's better to do that now while it's higher. So that way we don't lose money and then we take money out from the scholarship. So to kind of shift that to more conservative approach, knowing that we will be using that money to do that.
Yeah. So. And then will that return you to that ideal balance?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gets us closer. He's fine being a little over, but over time that can continue to get further out of balance. So last year we sold out of a particular fund that we were really high in, for the scholarships to help us reduce down. So, but
Yeah.
he said with our growth, it is even just doing that amount still wouldn't be enough. So we could shift a little bit more. So
Sounds great. Thank you, Grady.
sure.
District improvement.
Yeah. So we met,
Yes.
which is super exciting. Check. Yeah. Yeah. So y'all want to give a quick little summary of what we talked about today? It was
Oh, you're gonna put it on me? Okay, cool.
Just a
So
quick
we're
summary.
able to meet, kind of identify where we need to kind of deep dive and so on. Mr. Nason had some good ideas about questions that we need to ask and some info that we need to query on.
Yep.
And then I think Mr. Shanks and I, Dr. Shanks and I need to do a little deep dive as well.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah.
So they have all the longitudinal data tracking in front of them that they can dig through. I really like the idea Nason brought up. It'd be great to get feedback from alumni on their experience from the program and what they're utilizing. Like how helpful was it and what skills are they still utilizing? So we're going to work together on what that might look like. And then we're also going to have Ms. Cotton is going to put together for the committee a comparison list based on kind of accountability and student outcomes for 5 schools similar to each campus. And then bring that back to the committee. So,
and I think too, when we tie in retention and stuff like that to district improvement, this would be a really good way to sort of bridge the gap and look at possibility of foundations, the possibility of grants and rolling that all in as well. Not just looking at the academic side, but also looking at the other side that is just as essential, which are the people that work here. So,
Awesome. I agree. Okay, facilities. So.
Yay!
And, looks good. Dr. Newman, if you want to make a note, I believe SJ is supposed to send out a newsletter to all of the staff members.
Yep.
The discount code.
Yep.
And, we can send it on the board.
I don't remember, but I'll make sure that they do that. Yeah.
So if you have it post your order, there is a discount code for board members and staff district-wide. It's up 10%.
Yeah.
Just put the code in with your order. And now our job is to promote. So think of your connections. Obviously, if you work here, everyone knows, but start sharing that information, post it on your social media site if you're connected with people at banks or large businesses that you can maybe foster some sort of meeting with them and see how they can help support the gym fundraiser.
How do you get a logo? Like a business logo on?
There is an option for that, but we were under a time crunch, so I can resume those conversations. It's like a $5. Yes, you can. It was like a $5 add-on to add your logo and upload it with your order. It's just not on the site yet. So the next thing is the wonderful Mrs. Rachel has already drafted what we need for the proclamation with Commissioner's Court. I think it looks great, but I'm again not a Waco native. So I would like, if you have it.
It's in the drive.
It is in the drive.
If you haven't taken a look at it, please do, because we really need a vote on that tonight. So we can lock in the date with Commissioner's Court, December 17th, and court starts at 9 a.m. So all board members, if you can make that date.
December 17th.
At 9 a.m. Commissioner's Court in the downtown courthouse.
December 17th at 9 a.m. Dr. Shanks sent an email because he wasn't able to be here. He said, I had one suggestion for the proclamation discussed last month. It's certainly not a major thing, as the facilities committee has done amazing work. I'm adding in. I'm sure that's how he said it. We might want to include some brief acknowledgement of the Paul Quinn legacy. It's mentioned, but some brief statement about its place in the history of education in Texas as the first HBCU, West Mississippi, whatever, would be cool, as it speaks to the continued community commitment to educating all students in Waco. Just an idea.
A great idea.
Yeah.
And Rachel, thank you so much. What you
It looks great. It's phenomenal.
Well,
It's
I
phenomenal.
would also like to say, I think we brought up in our committee, the discussion of including our superintendent and current board members. There may be too many people to kind of go back to the first conversation and say everyone who had a hand.
No,
But being able to put that in the proclamation and acknowledge the decision makers right now that are moving the project forward and keeping it going. And I think beyond that, the commissioner's court will put in any other tweaks if they feel like they need to. I know proclamations can get a little, you know, lofty in the way that they want to put it. And I'm okay with that, but I wanted to be sure that this was the information. I think Neil had a very valid point, and I almost want to apologize for the oversight, but
no,
I'm glad
it was in there.
He
He just maybe if we just fleshed it just a little flesh. Yeah.
To lean into it. I think that's great. And especially when we're talking about the history wall, the things of that nature, just kind of letting them know that's been a part of what's been going on, the preservation and honoring the memory of what the campus started out as. And I want to add to that, if I may, is there everything on the brick? Because the brick fundraiser, the link is out and that's great, but there were tedious meetings back and forth. And Ms. Hill took a lot of that on in making sure that every detail was answered. And thank y'all for empowering us to make decisions on pricing and say, yes, let's roll it out. But I believe we will also want to make sure that we're considering the other projects that will come behind it. But this has had a great kind of rollout to get it going. So thank you all on that. And I would also add that we met maybe twice. Officially, we had our regular meeting date after the last board meeting, but we had an official kind of sit down with Bricks R Us to really get to that point. And there's going to be a wonderful feature. I don't want to get too emotional into it, but no, because we really want to make sure that every detail as we're doing it anyway. Why not pay attention to it? But this first installation should be a showpiece to walk into the gym and really be something you want to stop and look at, not just to find your name. And so that was great. But in talking with Mr. Nason as well, we wanted to make sure that other projects were still having the momentum to move forward, like the history wall. And I'm going to open it up for Mr. Nason to share some of the things he and his students were doing. But we talked about the installation process and products that may be available where it can be designed in-house, but we can actually have maybe a professional product that will last, that will be durable for wiping, and labor can be cut down for it to be a part of the opening. So I will let him say that in just a second, but also say we want to continue getting deadlines so we meet whatever construction needs we have. Making sure that we are involving everyone. I think we've been very intentional about making sure that if we're doing a community or a history wall, that we involve our community members, that students are doing research or programs or teachers or whomever who can participate or are part of it. But making sure that we are talking about the history wall as something inside we want to be able to do, and looking to the community wall and the Raven wall later. But Mr. Nason, I just wanted to allow you to talk maybe a little about the product that you thought might be an option, and being able to bring in info on that perhaps next month, or maybe what the price would be if you don't have already for a community wall and your vision and work with your students.
Yeah, we are working on the sizes. We're still trying to get the size of the wall. I actually talked to Dr. Newman a little bit about that today. And there's actually some good news. We think that we can make some of it in-house.
Okay, all right.
That's a big cool. Yeah.
The idea that we came up with, or the idea that we threw around, is to have 4 different sort of sections. One is the history of this neighborhood, to keep this, the history of this lot. We can't put everybody up there. We can't cover everything, but we can cover main points. And if you've seen those walls that kind of have like a gray image in the background, a larger image, but they have things that are like different pictures and photos and little information areas, that's what we're talking about, the highlight stuff. Then we're going to move forward to Paul Quinn College, the history of Paul Quinn College, tie it to our history now and what's in the future. And then those walls can change. So we want to make sure that whatever we utilize has the ability to be easily taken down and maintained or added to. And so our goal is to have that from the past to the future. as a Raven community and move throughout that sort of time deal. I've been in contact with a librarian. There's also really, we were looking at the websites together, and one kid said, well, this graduate student from Baylor wrote a really good history that was published in the Baylor Lariat. That, I think that's a newspaper, isn't it?
It is. Mm-hmm. Yep.
That actually tied together Paul Quinn, and in multiple places it mentions Rapoport already built into the conversation.
Yeah.
And so I've been in contact with that gentleman as well. Our goal then is we're going to get students involved with the research and the building of all this out. So the stuff that's on the wall is going to be generated by the students with the help of curating the information we get from these other sources, but making it this huge wall, not dishonoring our school or the growth of our school, but the foundations of the community that it sits in, because we think it's important to do that.
Yeah.
And because with the gentrification, quite honestly, a lot of these things are disappearing. And who knows in 5 years what's going to be left on the street or what's going to be turned into $480,000 condominiums. So in all seriousness, we need to try to this could be a repository a little bit of this is what this neighborhood used to be. And this is why it was important to the people that lived here. So that's what we're going to try to shoot for.
And why it's important to us today. Yeah. So it's really neat the way the architects are getting like actual like clearances and dimensions so that he'll have a space to work with. But when you walk in through the second set of glass doors, the wall starts essentially about 2 feet on this side of the glass doors. And then it goes all the way down the entire length of the facility to that end. So I'm guessing it's around 100 feet long. But what's really neat, I think, is it naturally divides out into kind of 4 viewing sections. Like when you're standing there, it kind of, there's naturally like this space that's in front of you, which would be maybe like now and forward or whatever. And then there's a really wide space that you step back into where the dressing rooms are. So there's like an inset. And so it'd be kind of like 2 large panels that would be there. And then down by the community room, there's one more set, same size as the front set, like one more set down there. So I think you could make it like really flow well, but then I think you could also do it so that if something happens and we miss a significant event here and somebody says, hey, you missed, we can go, we did. Like we can, they're not like carved in literal stone, right? You can flex it or move it. And so if a vinyl digital like applique mural is what we want, Triple Wing can print that and we can install it. You can do whatever graphics you want on it and it just prints like paper and just stick. And you can wipe it, clean it, rub it. That's not gonna hurt. That's what they use for car wraps, right? And all that stuff. So you can do that. If we want to do more like acrylic and laser it in, they have 4x8 laser tables that we can do any design we want into the acrylic and then just mount it right on the walls as we go along. So there's all sorts of things that we can do from concept to design to production right here that would be done by our kids. So I think there's lots of opportunities for that. So I'll get some dimensions back so that they kind of have an idea of what the whole playground is for that. Yeah.
Well, I think we can have information and stuff in place. I mean, we're going to have it in place fairly quickly because they're going to say, what are you going to do with this space? Right?
Yeah. So install would not be able to happen probably before the end of April because it would need to get through all of the checks and balances with the city before we start putting decorative elements in. So, but yeah, there's time, not forever time, but yeah, I mean, you would need to be in production by March.
Yeah.
So,
and then we can have a better idea, probably because most of the interior walls will be up and you can actually see the space you're working with too if you want to change.
Yep.
Forgive me, I can't find the proclamation on the drive.
Oh, no
I know
problem.
it's not.
I uploaded it.
So Raps History doesn't say Raps History anymore.
It was on my end. It's showing for today. Raps History for Proclamation.
It was there.
Oh, now it's there. So if you refresh, it's on there.
Technology. I was like, look, I felt special for him. I was like,
Sorry, it says RAPS history, but it's more
that's-
notes of y'all's.
That's facilities
discussions.
meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't see it. I don't have access at least.
Go back to special.
Okay, so board members, let's be sure and promote those brick purchases.
Yeah.
I do want to ask one more question about that. Thank you for saying that because I mentioned it to my chamber board. They are excited. I want to be able to commit to sending out an email over the next month or so and try to get it before the end of the holidays out to just people communicating that. But that message should be consistent. So if anyone wants to send it out from us, I think we should maybe collaborate and just make sure links, information, any updates, and be able to share that. But I think there are going to be a lot of businesses and banks that are interested. So I'd like to see our committee be able to turn something around and talk about that tomorrow in our meeting. Sure.
Yeah, has something gone out to the parents already? Because I spoke to a parent.
Well, I saw that, but I want to be able to communicate like to my chamber members and those people. And so I want to make sure that, you know, if there's something that needs to be added for them, some people, you know, tax purposes, whatever it is, that we are able to submit a letter out in community that any of us could share.
To answer your question, social media and Parent Square have been used.
Okay.
Hang on, let me see.
But perhaps we can tell SJ to double back and repost in a week or so.
So she's got a communication strategy already laid out where it's like,
Let me tell her how to do it.
yeah. So she already is like, I got it. One of the questions she did have for us though. Yeah. Yeah. So, and I guess I can tie this part in. I was going to tie down the construction side. But one of the questions she had for us is, are we going to do a drop dead like until this date? Or are we going to let them go longer than that? And so my thought was, we're going to do a push right now to this date. And then we'll talk about expansion. Oh, based on need, we have more space and then we can expand from that. But I feel like you need to have it.
Are you talking about the bricks?
Yeah, the bricks.
So it's broken down in 4 phases, but there's a certain amount of bricks and sizes that once we reach all of that, that fills all 4 of those spaces, that's when that ends. Okay, so there's not a date deadline. It's just fulfillment, order fulfillment. That makes sense. The first phase will be that front entryway and all of those bricks. So any bricks that get ordered after that space is filled, move over to phase 2. When all of those are ordered, that's when they drop ship to the school for them to be installed. So everything will be installed in phases.
Continue.
Until
they're
all
orders. Yeah. So the front entry, we're for phase 1, front entry is going to be what street is it going to be?
I don't know where we are. So
It's-
where we are,
You'd
we're
actually-
over here.
Oh,
It's facing this way.
Yes,
Oh,
it faces
got it.
inside. the school.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's what it's.
Gotcha.
Like where the trailer is over there?
Yeah.
Right on the other side of that. would be the
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay.
Now,
Okay, nice.
ornaments and the little keepsake souvenir bricks, they said they can keep that site up indefinitely. So at any point, anyone can order those and ship them to themselves. For this initial round of fundraising, the Christmas ornaments, they will cut that off. I want to say we said the week before the students get out. So a note will need to go out district-wide to say, hey, if you ordered an ornament, you need to pick it up at the store. Because they don't want to charge individual
Yes,
shipping.
no.
They will wait for all of the ornaments to be ordered and they'll ship it to the school and the school will need to arrange passing those out.
Excellent.
I don't know if that answered any of your questions.
Yeah. Nope.
Once again, thank you so much. It's a lot of
Yeah.
logistics
Yeah.
that y'all
Yeah.
handled.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Amazing.
I got it.
So
It's in there now.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it's history for proclamation. It's in there right now.
push the audit.
Yeah. So the audit was on there just in case they were actually ready to present. They will be fully ready to present in December with the draft and everything. They said it's going great. We did the fraud conversation. Everything's looking really good. So Let me
So we'll
find-
shift next to the handbook edit.
Yes.
Clerical correction, so.
Yeah, so I can explain it real quick, and Dr. Ellis can also explain it as well. So it's in, let me get over to that drive. We did a quick narrative in the drive, but essentially, unintentionally, we caused confusion by saying students had to be both CCMR and pathway complete, when if you're one, you're already the other. So that the first part of that phrase just needs to come out because it's redundant and it makes it confusing. So it's not really changing things. It's just clarifying because we had redundant language in there, right?
Yeah, I think that's essentially the concern. We have students who achieve college career military readiness completion in many different ways.
Yeah, including associate's degrees or whatever.
It's one of those ways. So it's unnecessary to specify one of the like 16 different ways when the second part of the phrase just covers that already. Not every student completes a pathway. Sometimes their CCMR completes a different method. So what we wanted to not do is block ourselves into specifying one of the many ways you can be.
And we don't name out the other 15 different ways you can do it. And so it just.
So saying ultimately what we want is students to be college military, career military ready, to be able to be in those spots.
Okay, so this requires a board vote.
It does because it's a handbook. Yeah.
I'll take a motion.
Any other questions? Anybody have any questions about it? Yeah.
We haven't seen it yet.
It just now.
But we'll tell later. Yeah.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we approve the change in the policy.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And just for those who are able, so I'm just looking at, RAP's history for proclamation is now available.
It is.
Okay, we shift to strong connections.
Yeah, strong foundations. Yep. Perfect. I'm going to pull it up here in front. So hopefully you guys had a chance to look at it. Dr. Shanks said he didn't have any editor corrections and was well done. So good job. But Lauren is here. She can talk a little bit about this. I talked a little bit about it last month and said it was coming for you guys, but we weren't quite ready with all of the feedback. So Lauren, you want to talk about it? The work you've done in the program? And
Can I start first though?
oh yeah, sorry, Jen.
Lauren, she's
not going to her own.
She has done a ton of work on this. And as the elementary dean of academics, she and Justice Sneed is our secondary dean of academics. They are the workhorses in our district. These two ladies do
very much so
than I think anybody realizes. So not only is she heading this up, but on top of the regular, normal, everyday thing that she does, which is a ton. So what we do at the elementary would not happen if not for her and the work that she does, especially in leading the IC team and what they do for the teachers. So anyway, I just want to give a quick shout out to her for the work that she's done on this, but also just for the work that she does.
This says draft 3. It's probably closer to draft 4.
At least.
But we have worked with our technical assistant provider via the grant to walk through basically what I've been calling legacy work for us as a district, as we look at how we're teaching our kids to read and all of the research and strategies that have come out as the best way to do that. It's pretty important. At least I like to think so. So within this process, we had to write a vision statement specifically for how we are instructionally going to approach teaching kids to read, write, communicate, all of those things. And then as a staff, we went through Arby's training, not Arby's, the sandwich place, but
not the beef and cheddar, but
instructional strategies training. And a lot of this framework, specifically our belief statements and stakeholder actions, are grounded in that. And so you'll see we have 5 belief statements. 4 of the 5 are each of the four RBs. So foundational skills, text complexity, knowledge coherence, and text-based responses. And then we have the opportunity to write a Rapoport specific one that lots of districts are implementing the RBs, but what does that specifically look like for us? And what does that mean for our population, our staff, our students? And how are we owning this work? And so that is that last statement. And then from those belief statements.
So I really like the other four, but I love the Rapoport one. So if you get a chance, you can read through that. I know it was in your drive, so hopefully you had a chance to look at it, but there was a lot of thought that went into every single word, which words were selected. I know you're going to go on, but I also want to highlight, I'm going to zip up if you're reading, so hopefully I don't give you a headache. Lauren and SJ worked on a logo for this work. And I think it's just, not only is it the cutest little logo, but it really pulls out the four big things that are important here at Rapoport. And I love that it highlights it.
I introduced this to all elementary staff. So we've had like our leadership team that wrote this, our committee that gave us feedback all along the way that we've drafted that has staff members, classroom teachers, special education teachers, dyslexia teachers, teaching assistants. I think that captures, but at varying levels within elementary that we got feedback from. And then I did it with the whole staff and broke them into groups. And from that, I had them, a big part of the rubric that we've been given for this is that it's clear and compelling. And so one of the tasks I gave them was to highlight what feels compelling to you, what feels like a call to action, what resonates with you. And the four statements that are around the cute little raven on the books are the statements that almost every single group highlighted. And so it was really cool to go through and sift through staff feedback and see really what did our staff bring to the forefront that felt compelling to them and like a call to action and really felt like it was grounded in why they do what they do. And these were the things that came up, which is very cool because they're also supported by the RBs. So I like to be research-based and we had that there too. And then based on our belief statements, we created stakeholder actions. All of those are related to the information you see above, but they are just filtered through the purview of each of those very important stakeholders within our community.
I love that Lauren was able to work through all of these different feedback groups to get really specific. It's very clear. It's easy to understand. It tells me exactly what we're going to be doing, what's important to us, and what's going to be happening in that classroom. And even though it's focused on earlier literacy, Mason, I know as an upper level English teacher, you see a lot of stuff in here that resonates in your classrooms, you know, and what you want to see through all the levels. So
our due date for this is coming up. So if you have feedback for me that you would like for us to consider as we really think through the meaning behind every single word and make sure it is something that we are able to upgrade. Because research changes, and so we want this framework to change as we learn new things. But it's due in early December to TEA. So if you have feedback for me, I would love that as soon as possible.
And
their own background knowledge in order to work through challenges as they learn new things and work with new people. That means a lot.
And it's going to be a big shift for us because what we've currently been using is more of a skills-based curriculum, and this is all about knowledge building. And so it's going to be a big shift for our teachers and therefore our students and our families. And so having something that we can go back to that provides clarity for the why behind that, I think is going to be crucial as we walk forward in our next steps.
Well, and we have done a couple of site visits. I think I referenced that at the last meeting. And we've done a couple of site visits for 2 curriculums that we're looking at right now. And it was fascinating because the last one that we went to, you could not really tell you were walking through an English class. You felt like you were walking through, for the most part, a rich social studies class with discussions on cause and effect and looking at original sources, and they were reading and they were talking and they were writing. And I mean, it was like they were talking about the content, but they were reading and writing and they were correcting in process of talking about the content. And it was really fun to hear the students talking about the subject matter, writing about the subject matter, reading the subject matter, and really using their voice in discussion. It was really neat to see them to be able to kind of draw lines, connection lines. But I think that what this does, this is kind of the initial step. Now what we have is a tool that will help us drive our curriculum selection, as opposed to what are the curriculums available and what can we use that will meet it. Instead, we're able to say, what do we want our student experience to be? How do we want the learning to happen? What do we expect the stakeholders to do? Okay, now what fits that? What fits this, instead of the other way around? So it's great.
I love that comment, because the thing that I say to so many people is when, as a parent, I engage with our educators here at Rapoport, I see that they have fully embraced the culture and they understand. And so for me to look at this document earlier today was exciting, because it's an invitation for not only our students, but for our educators and families to all collaborate together and make it even more engaged.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's interesting when I got feedback from the full staff. They didn't have as many edits for us in the stakeholder actions as they led to questions. And one of the biggest recurring questions were surrounding, like, what is this going to look like as far as how we're presenting this to our families and how they get to interact with them, and how are we equipping them to do these stakeholder actions that we're asking them to do, which is great questions for our teachers to be asking, because they know the importance of that bridge between home and school. And so it was neat, again, going through the feedback from staff and hearing their questions. Whereas I was thinking I was going to get like, no, I don't like this word or that kind of thing, but instead it was leading to good questions.
Yeah, I love that it leads to action. That's so cool. And it tells me that it's the right direction to head into.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I think it's really thoughtfully done. And I don't compliment very many people.
He doesn't.
You can ask my students. I believe the word is blunt. But what I was going to say is, it looks really good. But I would also like to see, and it's something I'm sure y'all are working on, how you intend to measure this stuff actively. Because a lot of these plans are like this that are forwarded, and there really is no process in place. How are we going to achieve these goals, and how are we going to measure the success of these steps?
Implementation rollout plan when we start that piece. This is piece number one.
Absolutely. But I think this is really great.
But I think those are the right questions to ask. And that's as we move through this process, through the grant into implementation, those are the things we're going to have to ask and be able to answer is, okay, so we've set these things. How do we know they're happening? How do we know we're doing it? How have we pre-supported people so that they have the skills to be able to now take the action that is expected of them here? So it's really awesome. It does. Yeah. So it's just kind of a receive and acknowledge, or yes, we support it, however you choose to make the motion. But
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion enthusiastically passes. Thank you so much for your work. Standing.
So good. It's so good. I neglected earlier to share a celebration from Dr. Shanks. So I'm going to read. I'll try not to animate too much. Okay. He said, on behalf of Dr. McCall and myself, we want to thank everyone at RAPS who has helped our tutoring experience go so well for the TED 1312 Intro to Education course. Our Baylor students have had an amazing time planning math and ELAR lessons for the 7th and 8th graders, and have learned a great deal about lesson planning, individualized instruction, and building relationships with students. They will finish their experience on Thursday with a celebration day to say thank you to the students who they have been working with for the past month. We have greatly appreciated the work of Dr. Ellis and Ms. Sneed in facilitating the process, communicating with teachers, and setting up the necessary facilities. We are also grateful to the cafeteria staff and teachers who have shared their space and students with us on Tuesday and Thursday mornings. This is a new partnership for us, and we have been overjoyed with how smoothly things have worked out and hope to continue working together in this and potentially other capacities in the future. So, yeah, so
fantastic.
Super exciting.
Yeah.
Yep. Just making sure I didn't miss any other notes from him. Oh, the other note, we already addressed that. So that's good. Okay. Okay, construction update. So I have a couple of notes. Hopefully you guys are driving by and looking at all the really cool things that are going on over there. We're going to meet up on Thursday with SJ. We'll do another board update. So we'll walk through the space. But today I was able to give a quick tour after we had our meeting, construction meeting this morning. So I took the coaches and our athletic director, and we went and walked around the site. It was really neat because we have stairs that we went up, and we walked on the second floor, and we walked into the gym, and all the walls are up and the rafters are up. So we were able to see that like there's plenty of space for volleyballs to go up and over. And we looked where the holes are going to be for the volleyball nets, and where the stands are going to be. You can see that wall that I'm dreaming of having a big Raven artwork there. So you can see that, and it is there. We could see like the history wall. You could stand at one end of it and like see what that's going to look like as it goes down. You could walk through the weight room with the windows that overlook onto the campus from the weight room. You could see the couple of offices that are up there, the windows going out into what is going to be like the trees in the yards next door, I guess. But you could still see that. You could see where like, Coach Foreman was already like picking out. He was like, I'm going to put a stool right here because I can hear and see the weight room, and I can hear and see the classroom, and I can also see the entire gym. And so like just being able to walk through that space and see it start to come to life. They have ordered the letters for the front of the gym for Raven Court. Awesome. And then we got to talking about, we want to do some sort of naming something. So I thought maybe the plaza, the pavilion area, the space out front. So I wanted the facilities committee to think about maybe doing some sort of like competition where students, families, whatever can come together, and we can think of ways, whether it's honorary because there's history tied to it, whether it's catchy or whatever, but where we could name that front space so that it becomes a place of recognition. So just for you guys to think about that. Yep. But it, is there a place for the voice, right? Like as we're walking through that. So it was really neat to be able to stand at the front where the glass doors are going to go and to be able to look at and say, this is where the names are going to be, right? This is the place where you can kind of put your mark on that. So that'll be a little bit in the update that we do on Thursday. So that'll go out before the Thanksgiving break. So we'll send that out there. But it was really fun to be able to walk through. One of the things I'll tell you guys, if you want to come walk through, I am happy to walk you through. Shoot me a text message. We've got extra hard hats. For the most part, either myself or John can meet up with you and we can take you through there. Just be sure you have closed-toed shoes on that day because it is a construction site. So I would love to have you guys come and walk through. You can really feel space. It was really exciting. So by the end of December, we should have roof and exterior walls all in, and the interiors, unless there's an access, like maybe they have to leave a wall down because they have to move equipment in or something. The interior walls should be framed out. So you'll really be able to see like dividers and spaces and where things go. But it's looking really, really great. Everything is still on track. We met this morning with the scoreboard sound system folks, and they were asking about install dates and what that looks like. And everything is still on track to be mid-April % completion, like basically complete, end of April, doing punch lists, walking through things like that, released to us in May. So that's where I was saying, depending on what we do, like artistic wise, like some of that will need to happen after kind of the CO happens. It'll need to be kind of owner supplied things. Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever heard this information.
Yeah.
The design of the gym, is that from when this first started coming up? Were there multiple designs, or like, is it coming, whatever was it voted on, and this is what's happening, coming to life? Does that make sense?
Yes. So Yeah, so it's been the whole process of gaining our own facility has been about 9 years. It's been about 9 years in the making. So it originally went from renovation, maintenance potential at the Y when the Y was still there. And then when that didn't really come to fruition there, then we talked about building a project. And that was the first time we invested district dollars into architectural construction engineering. And that was going to be for a renovation of the Adams building, which is over here, and the creation of a competition gym with that. So that was the first place there was actually design money that went into that. That process took about a year, where we had conversations, we had voting, we brought it to board meetings, and we did all sorts of stuff and feedback for that. And then we kind of stalled out whenever we needed to get the in writing agreement from Quinn Campus Incorporated that actually owns most of the land. And while we were doing all of that work with their permission, the city was also kind of renovating and planning on that building. And then it came out that the city actually wanted to do a green space modification and renovation of that entire back green space, which means Quinn Campus didn't want us to build a gym because it would take up some of the green space that the city wants to renovate. And so we kind of backed out of that. Then it was about a year and a half, COVID, everything else, where we were looking for options, land, other gyms, like what could we do? That's when we connected with Demarius. And Demarius actually just put a sign out there. It was for a single lot. And Jared happened to drive by while the guy was putting the sign out. And so I called it immediately, and we called him, and we got in talks with Blake over at Demarius, and then we're able to get the land. Then our architects were able to take that design and evolve it, not have to start all over, and shift it into the space that was allowable. Yeah, that had a lot more square footage because part of it was renovation. So what we were able to do is that had like 2 large classrooms. We only have 1 medium-sized classroom and then a small film room here. But as far as like the gym itself, being able to have offices there, being able to have the weight room there. This weight room is actually a little better structured. That one is going to be like divided a little funky because it was in the renovated part. But I mean, if we had had another 50 feet, we could have done more, right? But as Brian and I were walking through it today, I said, I feel like we got everything. He said, we have everything we need. He said, we have everything we need to make it a home. And it was funny. Coach Rice was making me laugh because he's always thinking about like, we got to make sure we have good endurance, right? Because we got to run these games. He said, this is going to be great. The kids can go up these stairs, around this hallway, down those stairs, back around the hallway, and up that. And that's a lap. And I was like, however you want to work that, you know, you go ahead. But it was really great to see our coaches finally have a little bit of hope. And so they're going to work together to find a time where we can walk students through, hopefully before we go out on Christmas break. We have to coordinate it where they're not doing active construction because it'd be underage kids. But we'll be able to walk them through the site. Once it's kind of cleaned up and polished up, there'll be a roof on it. And then they'll be able to see that. And then at least they'll have a little bit of a touch on what that's going to look like.
They need to do some work on the elevator over there. Because I went over there.
Not elevator.
I had to crawl my way up the stairs and it never came back. So I just went down the shaft.
You just fell?
Thank God I'm still here.
You just, yeah. I'm like, no, you didn't. Because there's no shaft yet. Yeah. But anyway, so we're going to do another update on Thursday, but I just wanted to make sure you guys knew, like, I am happy to meet up with you, or I'll connect you with John. Or if you say, hey, is there any way I can come Thursday at 2:00? We will find a way to make it happen so you can go walk through that. I want you to see it so you can speak to it. I want you to see where the bricks are going to go so you can talk to what that's going to look like. Yeah. I want you to go see the wall where the history things are. I want you to see the wall where hopefully the Raven's going to go. But it's a really, really cool space. And there's a lot of excitement that we're starting to kind of feel because it's coming true and it's going to be there. So, like I said, I'm really excited about the projects that we have going in there, the voice, the student voice, the history, the connection, the community. I think it's going to be really neat. Today, we were able to talk things about like traffic control and people and where our players are going to go and how we move. Theoretically, if there was a contentious game, maybe between home fans and away fans, like how could we move through the building? And there's exits that are on the visitor side of the building. And we talked about where those buses could park so that it would facilitate that kind of exit. And it was just neat to be able to talk about our space and what that looks like. Our coaches are already being contacted about being a space for tournaments, for summer volleyball, for basketball, for that sort of stuff. And And Coach Rice was like, "You good, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good. All the things, right? We want to do all the things." Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. No, because it will have to pay for the maintenance and facilities and updates and the staffing and cleaning and that sort of stuff. And so,
Thinking graduation.
so yeah, so I would really like to have graduation there. The problem is, and Dr. Ellis is going to do a happy dance over there. The problem is, as we've talked about graduation, we typically, the last graduation, we ran 800 to 900 people at graduation. This one, I did the number counts for chairs on the floor, and it would be about 820 would be max. That includes students, alumni, staff, families, which would really put us at about 12 tickets per graduate. So when you look at our families, we have families that bring 20 people, 30 people, and all of that. So I'm actually putting it up to the board. That was my last kind of construction update question is I really wanted it there. I wanted it to be the kickoff, the thing. These kids have never had a gym space in their athletic program. I would love for that to be the thing. We can shift that. We already have it on reserve at the convention center. We can do graduation at the convention center. And maybe what we do is a really big groundbreaking celebration reception for seniors, graduates, something in the space that just recognizes, thank you for their patience. Like, here's what we have. Sorry, you can't enjoy it because they'll be graduated. So I don't know. I want to leave it up to the board. I would love to be able to do that there, but it would mean a restriction on the number of tickets. Or we do it at the convention center that we already have, and we don't have to limit necessarily. We don't have to limit the number of people there. Yeah, I mean, I'd really want it to be just for the senior students and their families because they're the ones that are going to be bringing people. So, I mean, we have a senior parent, we have a senior parent, we have a senior parent. 3 of the class, 10% of the class, is sitting here. But.
So is it between graduation and graduation party? Is that what I'm hearing? Or is that like
where should?
Yeah, or like ribbon cutting. So graduation, the actual ceremony, or do we do just some sort of cool event that kind of kicks it off and celebrates it?
Sounds like a graduation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Dinner. Yeah. But that usually happens earlier. But
what's being discussed is where to have graduation. It's not the alternative.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So graduation will either be in our gym with restricted attendance, or it will be in the convention center where we've had it. It's already like penciled in. It'll be there without attendance restriction. So the question for the board is, no, the board doesn't have to vote. Like, that's really a school decision. It's just part of like our discussion with construction. So I would like the board's feedback. Maybe that's a better way to put it as opposed to a vote. The board's feedback.
I think that graduation to some of these families are it's a very big deal with some families in our community, especially.
Yep.
And so if you can bring 15 or 20 or 25 people to watch you that are all proud of you.
Or 30 is not uncommon.
I hate to limit that experience. And even at the convention center, I think y'all can attest to this. There are times that standing
we're going to have to increase.
We had seats for 800 last year, which was an increase from 600 the year before.
Yeah.
Or maybe
we still had about 100 people.
And we had people standing all around.
Yeah, we still had about 80 people standing
We would
around.
also likely ask staff not to attend. I mean, we want to make more space for families, but I think it restricts a lot of people who want to celebrate the accomplishments of our students. I think there's plenty of ways to celebrate the gym as a museum.
Yeah,
right. And I will gently put forward that if some plans go through with perhaps the mural, for example, that there may be ways to engage our seniors and their families with the construction, like the
something of it,
and therefore they feel like they have engagement,
a voice in that. So
everything comes to fruition. So
I guess really maybe the best question to ask the board is anybody going to have major heartburn? I will have major heartburn not having it in there, but it's not about me. Graduation is not about me, right? It's not about me. So I recognize that. Does anybody have major heartburn if graduation's not there?
No, I feel strongly otherwise. Yeah.
Tyler, there you go. Graduation's at the convention center, May 23rd. It is May 23rd at the convention center. 6.
Yeah, December 17th.
Yeah.
6 p.m.
6 p.m. May 23rd. Put it on your calendar. Don't be late. I'd really love for you guys to be up there. Yeah. Board members there at 5:30. Please, please, please try to make plans to attend. It's really important.
Okay.
Right, May 23rd. Okay.
Board training.
Board training. I don't have all of the board training documents from you guys yet. This is a heads up.
Quick question
Yes.
regarding that. It is 6 hours for those of us who have been on the board and not our first year, correct?
Yeah.
Is the requirement for the
Yeah.
year. And does that include what we will do in December?
Some of it I'm providing. Yes, some of it I'm provided. So if you go through the stuff that I provide that I haven't, there's other stuff you can do that is just great to go do. In talking with Region 12, they're not able to make it in December after all. They're going to come do some financial stuff in January. So it's all okay. We'll work it all out. But there's school safety that's on there. They recommend this school board human trafficking course. So they strongly recommend a one time, you don't do it every year, the human trafficking course. If you already have that in your other careers or other life, you may have something else that's interesting that you want to take. Then we have to do the Public Information Act and open meetings. Unfortunately, that is every year. So I need those for sure. So that covers all of that. Then they're offering Texas Public Charter School Association has some self-paced courses. So we can always look into those at any time when we want to do those. Region 12 offered these other two, which is update to the legislative session and evaluating improving student outcomes. Those are not coordinated ones. Like we're not all going to go, or it's not offered here, but you're welcome to go to those. Region 12 also has lots of other board trainings that they do. So if you want to go to one, I'll try to forward those over to you. Just note, they are typically focused on traditional public schools. Most of that applies to us, not all. So there's a little bit of stuff. So if you ever go to those and you get something and you're like, I don't recognize that, I haven't heard of that, that doesn't feel like something we do, shoot me an email and I'll either give you like the law behind why it doesn't count, or I'll run it past our legal counsel and get you back an answer for what it doesn't work, why it doesn't work. For instance, the state-based salary, we always beat it, but charter schools don't have to follow it. But we do, because we feel like that's a minimum. So what I need from you guys is you need to do the school safety and you've got to do the Public Information Open Meetings Act. They strongly recommend the human trafficking if you don't already have that somewhere else in that one. But I don't have everybody's Public Information Act or Open Meetings Act stuff. Yeah. Just certificate. So those two is a certificate. And then when you do the school safety, you get a completion email.
Okay, so how many hours do you need by the end of the year?
So if you're brand new, it's 12. That includes the orientation. If you're returning, it's 6.
So this looks like 4.
This is 4. So then in December, so I was going to run through that. So in December, when we do the audit, when we receive the audit presentation and we discuss the audit findings or none, then they're going to supplement with a little bit more funding. So that's going to be an hour of credit. So now, voila, we're up to 5. And then in January, they're going to come back and do some charter rules, legislative updates, that sort of stuff in January.
So doing 5 before the year end still keeps us in compliance?
Yeah. So actually, as you don't have to do these by like the end of December. It's, are you compliant? So last year's training is still within 12 months of what we're doing now. So what we're trying to do is reset that so that we're good for the next year. But those things right there, those top 3, really, again, human trafficking is just if you haven't done it somewhere else. So the school safety, who's done the school safety? You did that. You did that. It's interesting, isn't it? Like, it's informative. So the school safety one, and then public information, open meetings. I will tell you on those 2, if you've never done them before, you got to click through them. You got to read through them. If you've done them before, you can actually move through it at a pretty rapid pace. But we have to have those certificates.
2 different trainings.
Yes, 2, 1 hour each. And so I gave you the links for those. Those are on the website. I really, really, really need you before you are done in 2024. I need you to have the school safety and I need you to have the public information open meetings done. before you wrap up 24, I need those two done. I think the other 2 hours we will cover with December's finance. And then January, you did, with December's finance, and then January's additional updates. We'll be able to cover the other meetings. So you don't have to do anything like at Region 12 or other than that, but I want you to know you're welcome to. Here's the other question. If you ever have stuff that you're like, man, I don't know about blah, I can find the information. I can get it for you. We can bring it in for a training. It doesn't just have to be this one time. I would rather not have the trainings be these like droning on things. I would rather have them be cyclical. So when new board members get new information, but you guys aren't having to sit through, except line 3, Public Information Act and open meetings, that you're getting the things that you need to be successful as a board member. Okay.
Before the end of this year, we need the 2-hour TEA school safety.
Yep.
And the 2-hour Attorney General open.
Yep.
And public meetings.
The 1 and 1. Yep.
So the human trafficking and the self-paced Canvas course are.
Yeah. So the Canvas course isn't even optional at this point. That is if we want to craft something of our own. Right? If you say, man, I'd really like this topic, I can go find that information. So that's not even a thing. The human trafficking is really helpful.
How many hours do you need to remain compliant? 6.
You need to have, at any given time, you need to have 6 if you're a returner.
Do you have our current?
So yeah. So right now we're in compliance. We're in compliance unless you're new. We're in compliance because of last year's training is still within 12 months. They came here. Yep. Yep. So what we're wanting to do is reset for this next year so that we're still in compliance.
Not before the end of this year, but before the end of. So it's on me.
Yeah, you knew that. In any given 12-month period, you need to make sure that you're covered. So if you do this by the end of 24, you'll be in compliance when we do next year's governance report. That's what I'm tracking. That's why the 2024 is important, because I want to make sure we're in compliance for next year's governance report. You were in compliance for this year.
Yeah, you sent that on September 24th for us to do that. I sent mine on the 29th. Okay,
You did.
Good. All right, good. Perfect.
You did.
Okay,
I got you.
Understand your response.
Uh-oh.
Feedback.
Okay.
So do you need my OMA and PIA? This is where I work.
Yes. Just a copy of what you have.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then there was something about fire drill notifications and that training that are required that aren't happening.
Well,
one just happened.
Yes and no. Yeah. Yeah. Yes and no. So we've talked about that, being able to communicate and post it up. Yep. Yep. Good. Okay. So I need y'all to do that. Hold yourselves accountable to doing that. Send me the information. Bless you.
All right.
All right. Good.
No,
not yet.
That I need to send to you that I've taken for
Great.
work.
Okay.
Or other things.
That's great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we have to do the proclamation.
Okay, regarding the I made one little edit. Any other thoughts or
Yeah. I mean,
that's just somebody's.
it's somebody's cursor where it's sitting. She I think she made the Paul Quinn edit live. Yeah. Yeah.
No, the COVID-19. COVID's capitalized. That's it.
No, I mean, before she shared it again, Rachel made an edit about Paul Quinn, HBCU kind of thing.
Okay, I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve the proclamation with edits. Do we need to say that?
Yeah.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you so much. It's really well done.
I made the motion. Thank you.
And then we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam
sorry.
President, one other thing.
Yes, depends if it's on the agenda or not.
I've always wanted to say that. I should have mentioned this earlier in the teachers, though I had an update. Believe it or not, our little lunch committee is still chugging along under the tutelage of Cape and Cunningham. They had their first meeting where they reviewed the mills and it got some mixed results, but we are going to try to, we don't know who to pass it along to, if it's a SHAC committee or.
Yeah, so you can send it to myself. So Jen Millott is still part-time running the back stuff. So just send it to her, copy me. I do have quite a few applications for the replacement position. Not any that are totally qualified. So I want to try to be careful that we get the right person in that has the right mindset that's going to be able to do a lot of really cool things.
So
So,
Dave and Kelly put together a
Awesome.
committee of 9 and they met twice.
Love
They
it.
sit there and track and rate. So they are working.
That is awesome.
So
I love
I'll get that information passed on.
that sounds great. Would you just be sure and copy me
Yes, ma'am.
when you send that? That'd be awesome.
Thank you for remembering.
Thank you. I added that to your report.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, Madam President.
Now we're ready for an adjournment.
Madam President, I make a motion that we adjourn.
A second.
Rashonda second.
Rashonda.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
6:58.
Wow, that's impressive, guys.
Yay.
Good job.